So my name is Marc, working for Darwin for the last 5 years. First, I started off in the digital team for developers, and quickly 5 years ago started working on Microsoft. So everything that falls under the Microsoft. So that's also the Dynamics part, also the 365, and obviously one major component of that is DevOps and Azure. So everything has to do with cloud and automation. So yeah, it's been a bumpy ride, but I see a lot of changes in the market. Also a pandemic here and there that caused some trouble for the last couple of years. But yeah, definitely interesting techniques and a lot to talk about, I guess.
Like that. You've got a little bit more of a checkered background than me, sort of thing. I'm basically Ryan. I'm here as the DevOps kind of specialist over here in the UK, dealing with Switzerland. Yeah, as I say, it's similar to what yourself was doing, Marc, as well, dealing with all the DevOps side of things, dabbling in a little bit of systems engineering, a bit of cloud. Then I do a little bit of service now because they all kind of form together in the same sort of like kind of industry sort of thing. So yeah, as I said, it's interesting. It's a new technology that's really kind of, it's starting to hit the ground a little bit. It's took a little bit of time to get up and running. A little bit of who shall I go with? Shall I go with AWS? Shall I go with Azure? What shall I do? Automation and stuff. I don't know about yourself, but over in Switzerland, it does take a little bit of time than the rest of the Europe and the world. To kind of catch up with them. You know, I know we're over your neck of the woods. It's quite quick. You know, obviously the Dutch and the German side of things, they're very quick to adapt to a lot of different technologies. Whereas the Swiss like to take a little bit of a step back and see what's happening. And if it's working, then they'll do it. So you guys are like the forefront of everything, I take it.
It's a bit more conservative, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? Oh, it's typical Switzerland, isn't it?
Yeah. A bit more neutral, you would say.
Bit more neutral, typical, but they have been, to be fair, I don't know about yourself, Marc. I mean, I've seen a lot of growth, especially in the last year, when it comes to like the demand for more cloud engineers and DevOps engineers over the past year, sort of thing. Are you finding the same?
Yeah, obviously, yes. Funny enough, I don't see the supply growing, so I see the same number of people with the same skill set. Of course, that develops, but slowly. And I see just a ridiculous amount of demand that has been growing, like increasingly over the years. And we're all hunting for the same people, and that makes it a tough game sometimes.
It does make it incredibly tough. I think what's happening now is, from my point of view, is they're now starting to adapt DevOps into it with all the automation, bringing old legacy frameworks they've been previously working on from like the 90s, sometimes even the 70s, which has not really been updated. And they're now starting to realize that, they can rely on the cloud now. They can rely on certain aspects of automation. And what's happening, they're now doubled down on it. So they're invested a lot of money into it. But you dabbled on it before. You mentioned there's just not enough people out there trained enough that can actually do it.
Yeah, exactly. What other things that I mentioned that I for sure want to discuss during this session and pick your brain about it is there's been some SREs that have shared some interesting knowledge. One of them said, the company that I work at the moment, SRE and DevOps has become the meme. So right now we have a dashboard with 20 million wheels, and it kind of became unclear why we're doing things. Seems like the tech has become like the end goal. So I don't know how you see that in Switzerland, at least, but I thought it was a pretty funny comment. That tells me that you always have to have the goal in mind, why you are doing things, why you move to the cloud. You can do it because it sounds cool. You can do it because you can attract new or other people to choose for certain technologies. But it has to be really clear and really serve your business model, why you do things. That's the most important thing in business. What do you think about that?
Oh, good, definitely agree with that, because you'll see a lot of companies jumping on the trend of the new fad, like Kubernetes. You want to jump on that. You want to jump on what's better, AWS or Azure, and you don't know why. Why is AWS better than Azure? Why is this? What is it better for your business? It's a different, same sort of like aspect. I always compare cloud technologies to mobile phones. You've got Azure and you've got obviously AWS. I always compare them to iPhone and Androids, because they do the same thing. It's just I'll probably might have a lot of developers comment on this, but they do the same thing, but there's just a different way of doing it. But the ultimate goal is there. But a lot of people prefer using certain things or certain aspects of it, the certain interface. So you really have to realize, is it going to be beneficial for your business, or is it you're just having it to make yourself look good? It looks all sparkly and great and fantastic, but do you actually really need it? Do you need to be on the cloud? Is internal servers going to be okay for you? Are you big enough for the cloud yet? Do you need to? So I definitely agree with that, because I've seen a lot of companies do the same. They're just getting it for the sake of getting it, and once it's done, they employ a DevOps engineer or an SRE or a cloud engineer, and then 9 months later they're like, oh, we don't need it anymore. We don't need, and that person's now made redundant because of it, because they're just chasing the dragon. They always used to say the old phrase.
Exactly. Interesting thought. And I just hang up the phone with a candidate I had in process, and I said, what do you think about this whole cloud transition after COVID and everything established it a little bit? And he said, well, actually, I think that people are starting to go offboarding the cloud soon, because they're discovering that it does not serve their needs, and maybe it is better to have your own data center, your own service, and decide that you can do the security and protect your data better than put it in the hands of Microsoft, or Amazon in this case, or whatever. But I thought that is also a trend, that people are going to offboard some of them, but in the foreseeable future.
And you see that in the market already. If you look, for instance, if you guys are watching this, if you're on LinkedIn, look up DevOps engineers, wherever you are, and then see how many jobs there are available there, and then do exactly the same with system engineers and see how many jobs there are there. And I guarantee you there'll be about 5 times more systems engineers, and that's because of that reason. I believe it's because of the reason you just said, because a lot of people are saying we don't really need the cloud yet, we're not that big yet. Yes, if you're working for one of the big banks, you know what I mean, like UBS or Julius Baer or a big tech company, it's beneficial because you've got a lot of data there. But if you're working for like a startup, there's no need for all your data on the cloud. It's pointless. You can still have internal servers there, hence the reason why you just use a systems engineer to do that for you.
However, you mentioned a very critical point. The bank, some banks have the policy that their data needs to be very close in the same country or within the same region, but also some have the policy that they want it in-house. So they have to have their own security for their data, because they cannot trust Microsoft if one of their servers explode, like last year happened with Outlook, that for 3 hours, 4 hours, we cannot access Outlook. Then they have pretty much a big problem.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the thing is as well, you're now starting to see with that same sort of reason, is instead of being like a DevOps, it's now becoming like platform engineers are now coming to be a bit more forward, and it's taken away the operations and more developing away from the cloud. It's basically a DevOps, but no cloud involvement. It's more developing side of things. I'm starting to see a lot more of the platform engineering side of things. I don't know about yourself.
Yeah, I mean, give it a name. I think the title of this podcast or this meeting is SRE and DevOps, but we've been talking about cloud for the last 5 minutes, so that shows how cohesive things have been going, and we've got DevSecOps, Arc, I don't know what terms they come up nowadays, but that shows how much is growing together. And in terms of platform, I mean, someone explained to me what an SRE does is just mission critical support in the cloud. It's just an administrator. And if you break it down really, and what is a DevOps engineer? Yeah, you can just say that it's someone who performs or builds new platforms, But how is that different than a platform engineer? So yeah, it really depends on the skill and the company that you're talking with. And again, does it serve? Does it meet your needs? I think that's the most important thing.
Of course, that's it. You always have to look at, compare it to what you're after. I can imagine when you're really into this sort of scenario as a client or a tech company or any sort of business, because every business will need some sort of engineering at some aspect, and it must be a bit daunting for them to look and go, okay, what do I need? Do I need a systems engineer? Do I need a cloud, a DevOps, a platform, or an SRE? And I feel sorry for them sometimes, because if you make that wrong mistake, you're going to waste money, and you're going to waste a lot of effort.
Or what we can consult them with is, there are clearly distinguished terms what suits better for a system engineer or one of the other 10,000 names. Choose your name carefully, because you're going to attract the wrong people. If it comes to our core business, hiring talent, then we can consult them. I actually have a live example of a client that I helped last year. They called it system administrator. Well, system administrator doesn't sound that flashy, but maybe it is not flashy. But in this case, it was a highly developed Azure platform that he had to administrate. So I said, why don't you just call it, in Dutch, it was a cloud beheerder or Azure beheerder, which is just a cloud administrator. But at least it indicates something else. Of course, it's still system and it's still administration. But at least you're going to target the right people who may not have clicked on it if there's no cloud in the title. So maybe it can contribute to a big difference for the candidate's perspective.
Yeah, of course. Sometimes it's just going to be a bit of a trial by error scenario as well. Sometimes you might not get it right the first time, but as you mentioned before, get yourselves into people like us, who do this on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. I like to think we know what we're doing. I don't know about you, but I like to think we know what we're doing. And just get advice from people and have a look around and see what's going on. Sure. I mean, when it comes to the candidates, we mentioned briefly about the candidate side of things, and there's a little bit of a shortage. So there's a market for it. The money's there for it. There's a lot of opportunities available to people. What would you say about people who want to get into this sort of side of things? What would you say would the best way through? Because there's numerous different opportunities there. What would you say would the best?
Learn the basics. I mean, get an overview, know what a server does, know what a network is, and just get specialized in whatever you think that can bring the most value on the long term. Give you a clear example. I've spoken to people that are specialized in voice or telecommunications, voice over IP, and they thought that they were doing just their hobby, but in the end, with COVID, the market exploded. They become really valuable, and now they are getting really high-paying jobs for really good companies. But for example, I spoke to a cloud architect. He said, 20 years ago, I was a Novell specialist, and I knew that their roadmap was not sustainable for the future. So choose a market that or at least you can never know in the market in business, but at least you have confidence that this profession and this specialism is still reliable for the future, for at least the upcoming 10 years. And I think that a network and a server will still exist in 10 years, maybe in a different shape. But if you're an automation specialist and you just are hardcore into one coding language, for example, maybe there are other ways or other languages that are more profitable or serve better needs. So just take a look at that.
That's it. Yeah, it is definitely going into that. I mean, I've been seeing a lot of people, a lot of candidates trying to upscale themselves at the minute. They're coming from different aspects. It could be like a Java developer, and they're seeing that the Java stuff might be like that. Our PHP developer is a prime example. PHP is now really starting to kind of die down a little bit. It's been taken over by other sort of platforms. So a lot of them are now transferring over into the kind of the SRE, the DevOps side of things. And I think the good way, and another way I've noticed as well, a lot of boot camps are now becoming more affordable. I don't know about yourself in Holland stuff, but boot camps in Switzerland are a bit of a naughty word. They don't like it. They love people with more like a university degree, but boot camps do have their benefits. They do have an option for people to retrade and not have that effort and time to go to university again to learn like a computer science degree or a DevOps, whatever it is. So, I mean, are you seeing a lot of boot camps coming over your neck of the woods as well?
No, not over here. Not over here. I think the most things are just learned by experience. Just the production environments, at least here, are the most valuable. And when it comes to degrees, I tend to challenge my clients a lot on, okay, why is a bachelor required? You know, okay, if you hire from abroad, yeah, maybe that's a standard, and maybe we can make some exceptions for that as well. But mostly, it's about how you present yourself, how you give a presentation, how you make a documentation, how your communication style is, etc. If that's at a sophisticated level, then I can trust the person that he will do his job adequately. But boot camps, to answer your question more directly, I haven't seen it that much, to be honest.
Okay, that's maybe they said there's no need for it. Maybe there is I think, you know, it's different place by place sort of thing. You know, I would imagine maybe like say France, for instance, there might be lots depending on the market, depending on there's no need for them over like kind of the Netherlands sort of thing just yet. But definitely there's such a shortage of engineers over in Switzerland. There definitely is a need for it. To bring these guys up to speed and retrade and all that sort of side of things, which is
so. What is your role in that? Like, do you suggest boot camps as a consultant to your clients?
Well, so I advise them. I think my role in this whole thing is trying to get the clients more on board with boot camps. You know, I mean, the boot camps, they're fast tracks. I mean, if you're watching or listening to this, the boot camps are like a fast track way of getting a qualification sort of thing. They have them in all sort of IT avenues to bring them up to speed quicker so they can get into the market. I try. A lot of them are they're a bit they're shunned away. I remember beforehand I said they're a bit of a snobby word because they're shunned upon. They're not like kind of proper qualifications. You know, if you walk up to someone and say, "What do you have?" It goes, "Oh, I've got a degree in computer engineering." And I go, "What have you done?" "I've trained up in a boot camp." 9 times out of 10, actually probably about 99% of the time, they will go with a person with the degree and not the boot camp because it's a little bit of a cheating way of doing it. I think it is. It's like one of those, I don't know, a naughty word, I should say. So I don't really advise them on it. I just say that give them a bit of a chance because I especially in Switzerland now, with the new technology and things now starting to ramp up, I can see boot camps being used a lot more to retrain people more and get them up to speed, sort of thing.
Yeah, good. Yeah. It's a bit of a cheat sheet sometimes, but this also depends on the institution, of course. I think there are also. I think it's a great solution, for example, to bring your internal people up to speed. Like if you already know you got really great people working, but they lack a certain skill, you can do a refresher or a boot camp or a crash course or whatever. The good ones, the ones who are interested, to get more on board with a certain project, for example, instead of going externally first. And that is something that also as consultants we should ask our questions, like what have you done also internally? Because maybe hiring outside, of course, it will generate me money, and I will happily jump on board to work on a job. But maybe the solution is in-house already. So that's also something we can suggest.
No, of course. Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's what we're here for. This is what we try and kind of portray to everyone, even candidates and clients. You know, we're not just here to kind of help the clients do the business. We're here to help the candidates. You know, what's the best way forward? What is your avenue? You know, I always say to the people that I keep in contact through LinkedIn, DM me if you want to have a chat about what's the best avenue to go down, or who are the best companies to work with, or what's the best tech to use? Shall I go down the automation route, or shall I stay as a more engineering side of stuff, system engineering? And I'm always saying that, just reach out and speak to us and have some fun. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
I mean, one thing I wanted to kind of chat on really, because Mark, you do a lot more SREs than we do here in Switzerland. Switzerland has a few of them, but I can imagine you've probably got a bit more experience with the SRE side of things. And I mean, what do you think? Why do you think like SREs are critical to DevOps in businesses?
Well, I don't deal with SREs that much, to be honest. So
okay.
it's a fairly scarce title, and I must say it comes more. I see it more in American companies that have their headquarters here, for example. So okay. I'm tended to say that it might be more of an American title than a European one, because here people could be satisfied with an engineer title, whereas other people might be satisfied as an SRE.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking, but when it comes to the SRE side of things, it's like you mentioned, like mission critical. Sometimes I just think they're all the same thing, but just different names for it. I'm just like, is an SRE just a DevOps engineer doing one extra thing? Or is it? I say it was like a cloud engineer. Cloud engineer and a DevOps engineer are pretty similar. They're very, very similar in what they do, and it's just like, can we not just call everyone the same thing? Why do we have to complicate things more?
Yeah, well, that's why you always have to read carefully what says in the job description. Check the scope, check the tooling, because a system engineer can also do automation. He can always also work with containers and just call it like that. On the other hand, we have to really show our value, like qualify also this person we are talking with. Sometimes it's someone who is not directly working with these people. Someone is only screening it. We are also only screening it, but we have a little bit more concrete knowledge about what the market does and what especially the responsibilities are. And that's why we can come up with suggestions like, this is an administrator title, but maybe you should change it to consultant, because you're doing much more than that. And I think that gives a much broader scope and can target the right people more easily.
Oh, definitely. That is a great way to put it. An absolutely fantastic way to kind of highlight that sort of issue, sort of thing. I love that. I think a lot of us really need to kind of understand that, yes, we are not the enemy. We're here to help them. We're here to give you a helping hand. We do get a lot of stick in the industry right now, recruiters alike, but we like to think that we're the good ones, but we have to not be scared to challenge them, as you mentioned before, challenge them back, because they don't. Not everyone knows everything, and we have to kind of be experts in our field and let them know that we are the experts here. We know what we're doing. We know how to attract. This is what we do as a living,
Exactly. And you mentioned something really nice, because I spoke with one trusted client a few months ago with a very specific candidate, and I know he's a very good recruiter, and I know that he's as a contact person representing HR to me. And he reviews the profile, and he says, okay, what can you tell me about him? So we always send the CV. We always give a brief description with what someone does, with what someone is strength in, why he wants to leave the company. But he says, like, okay, I read it. What can you tell me about it? What makes him special? And he already knows. He also already knows he's interested, and he wants to talk to the guy. But I could highlight some other things, what he does specifically, and what makes him great. I think that is something that gives the company a better perspective of who you're talking to, who you're hiring to, because everyone can look at the CV. That's what makes us special as a consultant, that we can give that added value, that extra information that also a candidate cannot provide when you apply directly. Yeah, of course, maybe a cover letter, but how underrated is a cover letter nowadays? So yeah, I think that's a good selling point for us. There we can represent both the company and the client.
That's it. Exactly. Definitely agree with that one.